Well, the Highwaymen was a little bit like I don't know, like a dream come true. One minute we were playing the guitar and singing around New England for hot dogs, hamburgers. The next thing I knew, we went to New York City looking for a summer job and ended up with a record contract. And a number of months later, we had the #1 record in the United States and 32 countries around the world. My name is Steve Trott. I graduated from Wesleyan in 1962, went to Harvard Law School, spent 17 years in the District Attorney's Office in Los Angeles County, 7 years in the Department of Justice in Washington, D.C., and now I'm a judge of the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals with my chambers in Boise, Idaho. While I was at Wesleyan, we were on the Johnny Carson Show and the Ed Sullivan Show. A typical weekend, we'd do a concert at Florida State on Friday night, Georgia Tech on Saturday, Michigan State on Sunday afternoon, and then back for classes on Monday morning. Amazingly, we graduated with our class. We were offered a lot of money to quit school, and our manager said, "You're not quitting school." He said, "For every person who makes it in this business, there are 100,000 people who wake up at 35 years old and ask, 'What happened?'" He said, "You're going to get your degrees. That way you'll have options." And he was right. You know, I was in the music business, dealing with the top people. The guy who was working a lot of our recording was a man named Don Costa, who did all Frank Sinatra's arrangements. And so all of a sudden, for the first time, I was in with real musicians, and I recognized that I didn't have that kind of talent. So I started thinking about other things to do, and frankly, it was To Kill a Mockingbird that got me thinking about going to law school. And I wanted to be Atticus Finch, probably like a lot of people in our generation, so I went to law school, and I spent many years looking for Atticus and not finding him. But then after a number of years as a prosecutor, 17 as a state prosecutor and 7 as a federal prosecutor, at the end of the Reagan administration, I was going to have to do something else. And this sounds kind of funny, but I was offered to be the director of the FBI, and I turned it down because I'd had enough of Washington. And so my boss said, "Well, what would you like to do?" And I said, "Well, I think I'd like to be a judge on the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals." His answer was, "Okay," and Reagan appointed me next day. I guess what I'd like to say is the most important thing that happened to me at Wesleyan, and it really wasn't the Highwaymen, although that was extremely important and has been in my life, but it was at Wesleyan that I figured out that I had to stop learning from my parents and learn from myself. That's a big watershed in one's life. You know, you go to college maybe because if you don't, your parents are going to kill you, but at some point you got to cross that line and figure out it's your life. And once you start learning for yourself, that's when it opens up and turns on. So I tell everybody, figure that out.